I know you're very excited about the season coming up.
Paul, good afternoon. Yeah, good to be on with you. Yeah, exciting time of year, right? 1 week away, and we get the great opportunity and joy to open up next week in Atlanta against Alabama.
And I wanted to talk to you about your philosophy on scheduling. I think it's self-explanatory when we just got through talking about it a moment ago, but how does scheduling work for an athletic director at a major school like Miami?
Well, I think you want to always position yourself to be in the conversation, to be a part of the playoff. Right now we're at 4 teams. Previously, back in the BCS, it was, the 2 teams that went. But always be scheduling so that if you take care of what you need to in your conference, that you've played out of conference a schedule that's going to make sure you're in position to be selected. And, you touched on, we have, 9 of our next 10 years, I think we're playing someone from the SEC who's an opponent for us, which I think will bode well. We got Notre Dame mixed in there and, a couple other games in our schedule, not to mention the conference schedule. And so if we take care of what we need to on the field, I feel we'll be positioned well for the playoff, wherever it's at that point.
Blake, we had Greg Byrne on 2 days ago, and I asked him about his philosophy on scheduling, and it seems like it mirrors where you are, where, yes, we've seen Miami play in these opening games, week 0 2 years ago in Orlando. But is it fair to say that we're seeing a shifting philosophy now to get some of these big games back to home and home?
I like to see them home and home. And again, unfortunately, it just doesn't always work out for home and home. And, obviously for us to have a chance with Alabama, when the people in Atlanta called me, it was one that we jumped at. Florida has a big rivalry game with Florida State every year, which I understand, and it doesn't work for us to always be in that game with them. As much as I'd like to play Florida on a more regular basis, and as you touched on, we got Florida lined up here again in a couple years. But I'll do it if it's something that I think makes sense for our program. But yeah, in the perfect world, a home and home would be great.
And I don't want to get you into an area that is precarious to talk about, but you're part of a conference that just participated in an alliance conversation the other day that will talk about scheduling. And looking at your schedule, how difficult will that be when you have games already scheduled, I think, until 2030 and maybe beyond?
Yeah, it's going to be real difficult for us on the scheduling front. As you touched on, I don't think I have an opening until 2027. And so, again, I think without getting, in too great a detail about it, I know it's probably been talked about a lot. For me, the alliance isn't as much on a scheduling front. I think it's, the like-minded institutions, that have come together. And I look at the ACC, Paul, we have great alignment. I'm sure I talked about that with you last year through the COVID, and I think that's what really helped us get out of the blocks and get going with athletics last year. And I think the key is you want to have alignment with who you're with, and I'm happy with where we're at in the ACC with our presidents and our athletic directors and what we're doing there, and look forward to an exciting year.
Yeah, and talking to Blake James, the athletic director at the University of Miami. Blake, there are so many complicated issues. I'm telling you something that you deal with on a minute-to-minute basis, but we seemed like we were moving forward on the playoff, the expansion of the playoff a couple of weeks ago, and now that is anyone's guess. As a school that is projected to be at least in serious contention this year for a playoff spot and is expected to contend many times in the future, where are we right now with the expansion of this playoff?
Well, and in my opinion, and as you know, Paul, I'm not going to be one of the ones voting on it. Obviously, we'll talk about it. I think it's something that we have to continue to pursue. There was a lot of work that went into the 12-team playoff. I think right before all the news broke, Jack Swarbrick from Notre Dame, who isn't part of our football league, but is part of our league, had talked with us in great detail about it. I think there was a lot of thought that went into it. I think there was still some questions to be answered, and those are questions I think we still need to answer in terms of how does it look from number of games and the student-athlete experience. 17 games potentially would, be a lot of games. And so, there's some things that we need to do different. So, again, I think there was a lot of work that was put into it. Obviously, the Oklahoma, Texas news that happened right around that time when we were at ACC meetings, I think has probably thrown everything up in the air. But there's a lot of thought and good work that's gone into this, and I think we have to pick that baton up and keep moving forward. And if it ends at 12, it ends at 12. When we went to 2, it was inevitable we were going to 4. We're at 4 now. It's inevitable we go to some other number, in my opinion, from all the work that was done. I think that's 12, but I think there's still some I's that need to be dotted and T's to be crossed.
Blake, we are knocking on the door of the college football season, and 2 months ago, fans could not have been more excited about finally moving past COVID. We're not there yet, and you are aware of this on a daily basis, trying to figure out ways to make sure not only your players and staff are safe, but the fans. So, can you address that subject as you'll have a home game very soon, and you'll be dealing on your campus and in your facilities the same thing that everyone else is dealing with. Where are we right now on that front?
Well, in a lot of ways, we're in a very similar position as we were last year, Paul. We need people to continue to really listen to the guidelines that have been given. I think our young people did a great job last year in taking the steps they needed to be able to play last year with the testing and everything they were doing. Right now, I know Greg and I have spoken. I think Alabama's 100% vaccination rate. We're at about 90%, and so our student athletes, I think, have really done a good job, and just encourage everyone out there to, whether it's wearing of the masks, to the vaccination, to everything that goes into living in a pandemic. Hopefully everyone's able to do that, and we can have another football season with a lot more fans in it than we did last year. I know we're looking forward to a big house there in Atlanta next week, and the following week here at Hard Rock Stadium. And with that said, we need people to continue to be smart and do the things they need to do to help live in a pandemic.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.